Hello and welcome back to the She Gallery Show. Thank you for being with us tonight. We have two very special guests tonight. We have Andrew Rehs. Hi, Andrew.
Hi.
Am I pronouncing your last name right?
Rehs.
Andrew Rehs. And we are also here with Racel Lechoki. Thank you for being with us, Rachel. She'll join us later throughout the segment. And you are live with us on CAN TV. Please remember that you can call us at 312-738-1060 throughout the segment. And you can always reach us directly through our website at sharinghisenergygallery.net. You can always email us, and you can always call me. And you can always reach all of our previous guests through our website. You can always contact them directly. Season 1 is found on our website. Season 2 is found on our website. And you will be able to contact Andrew and Rachel after our segment as well. So thank you for being with us.
Thank
we
you.
have a lot
Thanks
to
for
cover
having us.
today. Thank you. So one of the art exhibitions that She Gallery hosted at the end of last year was Solar System. It was a very special show. Andrew and I were just talking about how powerful it was and how much it united, and hopefully we can have a sequel possibly. But these were two of the artists that I had a chance to meet. They are amazing artists. They're not just artists, they're also curators, they're healers. Rachel's a yoga instructor, and Andrew is a mental health professor, a curator, and a healer. Now, you're originally from Ohio, where you had the chance to grow up with small cities and valleys and gorges, and later your work was influenced by this urban setting. So you were in the city of Boston after you spent all of this time with nature, and then you go to school, right? And you're going to school for health, neuroscience. That was your main interest?
Yes, it was mental health counseling, focused on neuroscience. Yeah.
And all of this came from, you wanted to challenge. That was like
Yes.
the hardest topic
Yeah,
for you
absolutely.
had mentioned? Yeah, so then you go to school at the city of Boston, and then you end up in Chicago.
Yes.
5 days later, you get a job. Can you
Yes.
please talk to us a little bit more about this journey?
Absolutely.
And the glimpse of the architecture and how that also affects your work. I forgot
Yes,
about that
absolutely,
question.
absolutely. So yeah, I grew up in a very wooded area where nature was plentiful, and that always influenced my art from an early age. As you can see now, a lot of my art is repurposed. It's a lot of woodworking, and a lot of the stuff that I had met prior to that show was incorporating a lot of animal skulls, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. But from moving from that type of small town, wooded area, I moved to Boston. Could not take it out there. It wasn't my kind of city. This is the kind of city that I felt most comfortable in. So from there, about 5 days after I had gotten my degree, I got in a U-Haul. I drove straight here. I made a life. So was working in Garfield Park soon after that, and now I'm here.
And you were working with people that had been suffered from substance abuse and
Yes,
such?
yes. So I had started as a substance abuse counselor, and throughout the years I've done a lot of group therapy incorporating art, and now currently have my own private practice that's downtown where I do art therapy and marital counseling.
Wow. How do you incorporate the art into your group art therapies?
Yeah, so I basically use a lot of gestural techniques, a lot of body motion, and a lot of use of color. If you can have the client or whoever's participating put together the right amount of color or the right amount of objects to kind of get their purpose across, it's really impressive how much they can empower themselves in that process. Just by giving them a group of colors and you say pick 3 from here, you know that 3 of those colors are going to help them through.
And one of the conversations that we had at some point was how you dealt. Now, Andrew works with a lot of skulls, a lot of wood. How you also had used these skulls with your group art therapy.
Yes.
With this like sense of death, or what was that? What was that
Yes,
about?
so I had worked
That's
with
really
a lot of
interesting.
clients who had a pretty extensive history of trauma. Skulls became a symbol of death. It became a symbol of, and they actually used the symbol almost as empowerment, but empowerment in the wrong way. So I tried to kind of re-own that.
Like, what do you mean in the wrong way?
I would say they more so embraced death as an inevitable instead of utilizing what trauma or the trauma that death can produce, whether you were a part of that death or whether the death happened close to you, and actually use that to incorporate more of a rebirth. So the whole idea behind painting on these skulls and giving them actual real animal bone as their canvas, it allowed them to, I guess, have a sense of, I guess it was a sense of empowerment, seeing this symbol that was once death become something beautiful at their own hands.
And alive.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That is really cool. So you're a woodworker, you're a curator, you're a member and builder of many art communities,
Mm-hmm.
along with Rachel. You want to talk to us a little bit more about Beautiful Maladies?
Yes.
And
So-
how Blink came about?
Yes, yes. So Beautiful Maladies was actually created as the vessel for this skull art that I had created. That was coined right soon after I moved to Chicago here, just to kind of give that part of my art a voice. And then over the years, in the last 2 years, I had actually reached out to Rachel to help me out with an art therapy group that I had. We had shown in a lot of the similar galleries, and I had kept hearing her name come over and over again, and so we connected. And I don't think we actually talked about the art therapy group for the first several meetings because we were so intrigued by what we did. And I had finally found somebody that was as motivated as I was. So started showing together in her gallery, and then months later.
And that's at Zuby?
Yes, so that's at
Here in our
Joby Art
neighborhood?
Center. Yes, so she had a gallery space there for quite some time before I had met her. I started showing as a guest artist, and then I just kind of never left, and then became a permanent addition to her gallery, and then we started doing group art shows together, and then it just really took off. The community was a really beautiful thing, and it's growing rapidly still today.
That's awesome. So this is Blink, and that's an art collective, and it consists of 6 artists, and you work with other artists throughout the neighborhood. You invite other people to your space at Zuby, and please remember that you can always contact our guests directly through our website. So if you'd like more information about Blink and about their development, please you can reach them directly through our website. And they're just growing, so they're doing this for the people, so make sure that you take advantage of that. And thank you guys so much for dedicating your time for that. As he mentioned, she's a mental health professor. Rachel is a yoga instructor as well as an educator and an artist. So for them to give their time to this collective is a lot. So thank you guys so much for doing that.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with me
Yes,
today. We are going to
absolutely.
have to switch it over so we can learn a little bit more about Rachel. And please remember again that you can reach us through the website, and you could you can always it's okay. You can always call us directly. Oh, sorry about that. You can always call us directly at 312-738-1060. Rachel, thank you for being with us today. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. So again, I had the pleasure of meeting Rachel along with Andrew when we hosted our solar system. If you could just come in a little bit closer. And now you are originally from Chicago, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so where did you grow up?
I grew up on the west side probably only until I was about 6 years old. And then a majority of my time was spent in Berwyn. So I went to middle school and high school. And then after that, I've been living in the city ever since again.
Wow, okay. And in the city, like in the south side part of the city, are you at Zuby?
That's just where our
near the
studio
area?
is, actually,
Okay.
so we do spend a lot of time there. And as Andrew mentioned, I've been involved with the center for a few years, so I feel like I've been watching the neighborhood kind of grow, and people kind of also come in and out. But actually, I have remained around the Humboldt Park, Logan Square, kind of Wicker Park area for my time as an adult in Chicago.
So you're a north sider, you're a south sider.
Yeah, kind of all
You're
over
an
the place.
all-around city.
Yeah.
You're an all-around city
Yeah,
girl.
because then I teach up in Rogers Park, so I'm kind of, definitely all over the place.
Okay, and what is it that you teach?
I teach 9th through 12th visual art,
Okay.
9th through 12th grade.
So you're also working with students, you're also healing that way, and you're also a yoga instructor?
Yeah, so I'm a yoga, certified yoga instructor and Reiki healer, so level 1 for right now. And I do incorporate that with my teaching as well. Like, for example, I'm teaching some students currently right now, the upperclassmen, some new painting techniques with watercolor. They love to paint, so we're just building those foundations again. And the end product is going to have a positive affirmation on top. So we're spending a lot of time, in addition to talking about art and techniques, but also about, positivity, how that changes our energy, our thinking, our environments, people around us. So I feel like we're always kind of blending both.
That's awesome, and that's really important. So how long has Rachel been an artist, and when did you discover that you were an artist?
It's a good question.
I know I wanted to ask Andrew that, and he did mention that he's always been a creator, and I really wanted to mention that his father had a big influence on him as well. So I'm sorry for cutting that off, but his father had a big influence, and his creation. And as we've mentioned in previous shows, I think that we're all born artists, and some of us keep at it, some of us come back, but it's important to just express, no matter which form. Whether it be this communication, painting, whether you think you're good or not, it doesn't matter. The point is to release these stresses and have a healthier way of living. So, and this is what you're incorporating within your teachings as well. So when did you become an artist? I'm sorry, I don't know if I got to finish letting you answer that question.
That's okay. No, because to piggyback off what you said, I would definitely agree. So I feel like I was definitely always been some type of an artist or creative person, but it just wasn't until later in high school that I realized, that was for me, and that was more of my true calling, and I kind of stopped doing other activities I was involved in and just took more of an active role in arts. Really got a really cool opportunity to take a painting class at UIC as a senior, so I was already getting familiar with like college campuses and those type of techniques and environments. So probably about high school did I really start owning it, and then for sure in college.
Did you go to art school?
Yeah, I went downtown to Columbia.
Okay, what did you study?
I studied fine art and art history.
Okay. And is that when you decided that you wanted to have your own space, your own gallery space?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why I decided to not just do fine art anymore, but definitely continue. I did an extra semester then, so I can double major with art history. I was almost there because I really love the curating aspect and some of the logistics that went behind there, and just really getting to know just the artist's deeper practice and what was happening with their creation and the process, rather than just doing my own process, learning about other people's. And I think that kind of led me into teaching as well.
Yeah, curating is not easy. It's a lot of work, and you have to really, really, really love it. So what was it that you mentioned that you said that you learned about the curating that really motivated you or grabbed you to say, this is definitely what I want to do? When did you learn that you really loved that? Or what was it about it that you loved so much?
Yeah.
If you could just please go.
Sorry. Artists coming together. So a lot of stories I was hearing through the study of art history about how artists were finding each other, exploring techniques together, conquering, political issues, and making their way through history through art. So I think that was something that I thought was really beautiful, and sharing those stories. I feel like a lot of people make beautiful art, and a lot of it doesn't get seen. So I think curating, putting shows on, making sure this work does get seen, people's expression, how you mentioned, gets voiced in a different way. And I don't know, there's just something about curating I really like. Sometimes I actually prefer that more than actually creating.
It's still a creation.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I think when I worked on film, I felt like that was curating, because you're putting a piece of something, anytime that you're organizing, and you curate your own clothes sometimes.
No, that's true.
Everything
Yeah.
is an organization, I feel like. And one of the really cool things about curating is, or at least to me, I feel like it's almost like a production, like a film production. Like, you're getting your cast, you're getting your artist. Last week we mentioned, or a couple of weeks ago, we mentioned how S.H.E Gallery came about, and how I was like, well, I don't have money, I don't have a space, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I grabbed my roots, and I applied the concept from being in party productions. To get a space, get your DJs, and you have your party. Now you have artists. Everything is kind of like an organization, and you do bring a big platform and unity through curating. And again, you have to really love it, because it's a huge sacrifice. So you've been at Zuby for much longer, and that's where you and Andrew started curating, and then you developed this collective as well. How long were you at Zuby, or how did you end up being a part of that community
I've
after
been-
Columbia?
Yeah, so I've been there for a little over 3 years, and Columbia actually was, thank you. Columbia was actually what got me started there. It was suggested to go and start exploring different galleries and museums. Columbia always says that the city is our campus, since it's not necessarily a conventional school where everybody kind of convenes at dorms and whatnot. Even the dorms are kind of all around the city, so it's highly encouraged, and for some reason I just ended up there. And the curator Sergio, who's still there, is just such a wonderful person, and he was
Sergio
just
Gomez.
yeah, Sergio Gomez, and he was just so welcoming, and I feel like kind of took me under his wing, and there was this need for like education, some type of an education department there. My biggest question when I went in was kind of like, okay, well, you guys do these amazing things, obviously curating. There's all these artists housed here. But do they share more than just, curating their work, having shows and trying to sell it? Like, are they educating people? Are they giving talks or anything? And it came to everyone's attention, not necessarily. So we developed art education, which I think is still actually running. I'm just not as involved. And it kind of led to a really beautiful relationship at the center and then eventually a studio space.
Wow, that's awesome. So you brought some education to what was just art. That's really special.
Yeah, and it's cool because now more of the artists are doing a lot more of that on their own or advertising more. I'm sure some have been doing that, for a while. We were just trying to make it more of a collective thing in the center.
That's awesome. And now you have Blank, and you guys are doing more shows and bringing more platform to the community.
Yeah.
Congratulations for that as well.
Thank you.
Now, what advice would you give any other emerging artists that say couldn't afford to go to art school?
I think just practice all the time, which is even something I'm constantly having to remind myself of. The sketchbook is a huge practice, and now that I just returned back to school, I'm definitely always reminding the students of that. So,
What are you going to school for?
Oh no, teaching. Go back
okay.
to school with my kids. Yeah, school just kind of started again last week, so we're just slowly getting into things. But their first assignment is bring a sketchbook. So, advice would be, just practice. Definitely be open. Because you may think, I've been sketching my whole life, maybe that's it, and then you discover you're a wonderful painter. And definitely just stay really active in your community. Get to know other artists, support them, see their shows, and vice versa, because that's really how I think we've gotten to where we are, is definitely using the resources around us and really working as a team with people.
Yeah. Now, the students that you work with, you mentioned they're they're older, right? Like 7th to 12th grade?
Oh no, they're actually 9th through 12th grade. So I'm with all freshmen through seniors.
Okay, so you're dealing with teenagers.
Yeah.
That's kind of hard in the city, right?
Yeah,
What is
absolutely.
that like? How do you get them to express themselves?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
That has to be really hard and important because a lot of these issues come from the lack of self-esteem or from low self-esteem.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody feels like they're not loved or they don't belong, and you're killing yourself, you're killing other people, you're going to drugs, you want to fit in. It's
or there's
very
lack of
hard.
resources at home, right?
Yes.
Or parents that necessarily don't understand or come from a
Yes.
different background or different culture.
And every teacher that we've had
Yeah.
or every guest that I've had, I've always felt like whether they're educators themselves, they always say that it was an educator who has left this huge impact.
definitely.
So every day you do that for
Yeah.
somebody,
Yeah.
in years hopefully they'll be like, oh, I had this amazing teacher,
Yeah.
and it was because of her that I did this, and
Yeah.
that. So how do you do that? What's the biggest challenge for you with working with teenagers in the city?
This is such a good question. I think the challenge sometimes is just continuing those relationships and making sure that they're strong no matter what happens with that student. So remembering everything you just said. So I'm seeing them in the context of school, and there's all these different expectations, and they might morph a little bit into a little bit of a different person, right? But at home, they're dealing with all these struggles. So just being compassionate to that and keeping those relationships strong to make sure that trust is there. Because once we've built that trust, we really get to amazing places. Because they have a lot to express and they want their voices to be heard. And sometimes they don't have the resources at home, so they definitely have been taking advantage of using them at school. So it's hard, but once you push past that and you show them that you're dedicated and you keep coming every day and you don't give up on them, eventually, they won't give up on you or their education either.
And how has that helped you grow? both as an artist and as a person?
Just
as a
all
teacher?
around, absolutely. It's helped me develop more patience, more compassion. Discipline is a big one for me right now, right? If I can't meet my deadlines at school, can my students meet their project deadlines? Just honestly, I think about it all the time, just as simple as practice what you preach. So I try and be really mindful of that because,
Mindful.
right? Mindful. I drop those words too a lot with my students. So yeah, just trying to be really, really mindful of that, to be a really good role model for them, always there for them, so we have a really comfortable, open environment.
That's really good. So you're bouncing positive energies, and that's really important. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
All of the teachers out there.
Definitely.
Thank you, guest, again for being with us. I wish I had more time to show you some of their work, but again, you can visit our website, and I'll have more of their information, more of or their art, I should say, up there. Andrew has some amazing pieces with the wood and the skulls that we had mentioned, and you've learned a little bit about his background and how they've applied, so you'll be able to see that. And Rachel works with a lot of color, a lot of figure, which you can see in her yoga and just in her bright being. So you'll be able to see that too, and learn a little bit more about their collective, and hopefully take a part. This is what they do it for. This is what they're dedicating their time for. As well as S.H.E Gallery, please remember to link up with us. I just have some last announcements to make before we end the segment. We have some upcoming shows in September. I have to wait a little bit to announce that one, but we're very excited. We're hosting, I've mentioned, an art exhibition for Piloto. That's going to be his first solo, or our first solo exhibition that we're going to be hosting for. So stay tuned for that. Then we're also hosting another solo exhibition for Red Santiago, which is one of the other artists from Solar System. Just again, from communication, I went into T-Mobile, and he was like, "You're an artist?" I was like, "Yeah, I just started this gallery." And he's like, "Oh, I have some work." And he sent me an email. This kid, he's freaking amazing. Like, why are you on T-Mobile? And he's doing these sketches. And he's like really, really amazing. So
That's
I
great.
remembered him. And I reached out to him for the
Awesome.
call of Solar System. I'm like, you have to be. And he was like, yes, can I show 3? And he shows up with these, like, amazing pieces. I'm
That's
like,
great.
are you kidding me? And I just watched him grow after Solar System, and I was so proud of him. And he came over and asked me a lot of questions. He wanted a lot, very hungry, and I gave him a lot of answers, and he was very overwhelmed. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't realize it was all that." I'm like, "There's a lot of work behind all of this, being an artist, you know, when you want to have shows and all of that."
Definitely.
And he asked if he could have an art show with S.H.E Gallery, and I was honored because he's truly amazing. And I said, "Yes, let's do this." So we've been working on this for quite some time, and December 1st of this year will be his first solo exhibition. And S.H.E Gallery is very proud to host it. That would take place at Cece's Art Garage here in Bridgeport.
I love her. I
It's
used
an
to teach
amazing
yoga there.
space. She's pretty awesome.
She's great.
Really, really awesome. She really is. And
exciting.
thank you. So
Congratulations.
Congratulations to Red. Keep pushing. Red was also part of the Lake FX Creative Con live painting that we had over at the Cultural Center. So that's the day that he told me that his mom told him. His mother is an immigrant from the Philippines, and his mother tells him that she doesn't feel like she could dream anymore. And that did something to me. And we said, we're going to make sure that your mom dreams, and we're going to make your dreams come true, and we're going to have you a solo exhibition. And that exhibition is dedicated to his family, thanking them, thanking his roots. His family has been supportive since the beginning. They're always at his events. Whatever I bring him into, they're always there. They're very supportive, his sister. In gentrification, he grew up in the city of Chicago, so we'll bring in a little bit more about that. And then January, we're collaborating with Elephant Room Gallery for a contest that we had at the Lake FX Cultural Center, giving opportunity to everybody to have an art exhibition with us. So we'll do that. And then we're still taking anybody that's interested. We're doing a performance art event at the National Mexican Museum March of next year. So this touches a little bit on all of the art exhibitions that we've had in the past. So again, you can always link up with us and link up with our guest today. Thank you so much for being with us. Join us again next week, when you will be able to meet Red himself. Thank you.